We do begin tonight with breaking news. Level 2 evacuations have been issued for a fast-moving wildfire burning near Grand Coulee. Level 2 means get set. This is for the Jones Bay community about 3 miles south of Electric City. The fire, being dubbed the Northrup Fire, has closed parts of State Route 155 in both directions. According to the Department of Natural Resources, it's burning around 150 to 200 acres. As we take a look at this video from viewer Jen Hill, you can see it creeping over the mountainside there in that video, and currently fire engines and air assets are working to put the fire out. This continues to be a developing story. We will get you the latest information as it comes into our newsroom. And with that, we want to say good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Joshua Robinson. Mark has tonight off. And even more fires are burning across our region tonight, from North Idaho to Central Washington. Starting off tonight with one of the newest burning in the Spokane Tribe of Indians Reservation. The Sherwood Fire is burning 2 miles northeast of Wellpinit. It has burned at least 375 acres and it is 30% contained right now. Level 2 and 3 evacuations, though, are still in place. About 20 homes and other buildings are under that level 3 evacuation. Meanwhile, all evacuations have been lowered to level 2 for the Goddard Road Fire. That fire is burning in Stevens County and is pushing 800 acres right now. Crews have it about 25% contained tonight. A Red Cross shelter has been set up at Kettle Falls Middle School. Level 3 evacuations are still in place for the Cedar and Cub Creek fires burning in Okanagan County. The Cub Creek fire is the largest of the two. It has now burned over 35,000 acres and crews have it 5% contained. And the Cedar Creek fire has burned over 18,000 acres with about 11% containment. The Chewea Creek fire, burning in Nespelem, is holding at about 36,000 acres tonight. Crews of that fire about 45% contained, and all evacuations have been downgraded to level 1. Meanwhile, the Trestle Creek Complex fire is burning about 436 acres outside of Hope, Idaho, as of our last check this morning. And as with all wildfires, crews are working to protect the lives and the homes in that area. But as our Ian Smay reports tonight, these firefighters are also focusing on protecting a different group.
We normally think of fighting wildfires as saving lives and protecting homes. But here at the Trestle Creek Complex fire, the focus isn't only on saving people. It's also about protecting a threatened fish species that calls the creek home. A drive into the Canucksu National Forest gives a show of the firefighting efforts for the Trestle Creek Complex fire. The cold waters of the Trestle Creek are home to the bull trout, a threatened species of char, not trout as the name suggests. Crews have taken a focus on protecting the creek and its fish from danger.
It does cause us to try to reduce the short-term impacts of the fire because it is a threatened species.
The two main negative impacts if the fire got too close to the creek are the loss of overhangs or vegetation that grows above the creek and keeps it cool. That's important for the estimated 300 or so bull trout in Trestle Creek, as it's a cold water fish that survives best in 44 to 48 degree water. The other risk is clearing out vegetation that would block water runs from dragging too much large gravel and soil into the creek, which could harm the fish. But the fire itself isn't the only danger.
You know, the biggest risk maybe from fire suppression right now is that, if they're doing retardant drops or water drops near the fire.
That's right, the firefighting efforts could pose a risk. Fire retardant is bad for fish, and the water being used in drops is from Lake Pend Oreille, which is home to a number of aquatic species that could harm bull trout. But if all goes to plan and the fire and fire suppression efforts keep their distance, the fire may not be a bad thing for the bull trout.
A lot of people have this misconception that fires are bad for the fish in the stream, and actually they're not. I mean, these fish in these streams have evolved with fire, and there's a lot of benefits that come from having wildfires.
Fires can help fish in the creek in a similar way to how it can harm them, by making it easier for debris to enter the creek. Stash says fires can help bring smaller amounts of gravel and debris into the creek that doesn't actually harm the fish. Instead, it provides them a place to spawn, important for a threatened species like the bull trout. Luckily, Stash thinks this fire will be one of the good ones for the fish.
Yeah, I'm not even sure that there will be any impacts or effects from the fire to fish in Trestle Creek because they have kept the fire away.
Reporting in North Idaho, Ian Smay, KREM 2 News.
And here at Crim, we are committed to keeping you informed about the wildfire season. We know it's always a lot of information, so we want to make it easier for you to find what you need to know. All you have to do is text the word FIRE to 509-448-2000, and we'll get it right to your phone. But if wildfires weren't bad enough, Eastern Washington has now moved to exceptional drought conditions. That's the highest level it can reach. Meteorologist Thomas Patrick joining us now from the Outdoor Weather Center. Thomas, how is this going to affect what we're seeing in our fire conditions already?
Yeah, this is definitely an underlying issue of the wildfire season that we're going to experience through the rest of the summer. Exceptional drought conditions have now expanded to nearly all of Eastern Washington. It's covering 27% of the state as a whole, and now everything is dry. Grass, brush, timber, all the trees and all the forests, they're pretty much dry to the core. So obviously that is a lot of fuel for the active fires that are burning and for any new fires that'll crop up throughout the course of this summertime. A lot of these fires in northern Washington are also contributing directly to the air quality concerns across the region. There is so much wildfire smoke. The moon actually looks quite yellow-orangish for tonight. I can actually smell a little bit of that wildfire smoke in the atmosphere. We're still in the unhealthy for sensitive groups range in Spokane. It's actually outright unhealthy over most of Okanagan County, where two of the larger fires are burning at the moment. Temperature-wise tonight down into the mid-50s, so it's still quite comfortable at night, but temperatures will start to warm up as we head into the weekend. Show you how many days we have in the 90s and your complete air quality forecast heading into the weekend.
But obviously, with some of this legislation, we're a little handcuffed.
In 3 days, several new police reform laws will go into effect, and lawmakers say they will they will save lives and will hold police more accountable. But some law enforcement are raising concerns. In a joint press conference today with numerous Eastern Washington law enforcement agencies, many members of law enforcement claimed the new laws tie their hands. Starting this weekend, chokeholds, neck restraints, and no-knock warrants will be banned. Car chases will also be limited to people suspected of violent or sexual crimes, driving under the influence, or those who pose imminent threat to others.
So what that means in layman's terms is officers have to be able to conduct an investigation to develop probable cause to be able to stop that person from fleeing. And if they aren't able to develop that probable cause within the first couple of minutes, that person is going to be long gone.
The laws also may limit their ability to respond to calls with people experiencing a mental health crisis. Now, these laws will be enforced by complaints people file with the agency or to the Washington State Criminal Justice Training Commission. New tonight, the Washington Department of Health is preparing to announce their latest findings on the Delta variant of COVID-19 and its movement across the state. Ahead of tomorrow's announcement, the Spokane Regional Health District has also shared the latest vaccination numbers in Eastern Washington. Take a look at this map. You can see how the vaccination rate percentages are divided up by zip code. We're going to take a closer look now because there's only one zip code in Spokane that reports more than 65% of its residents have received at least one dose of COVID vaccine. That is right here, the 99203 zip code with 65.6%. Meanwhile, the 99223, 99204, and 99201, those are the only other zip codes that have passed the 50% mark. But even as we change it now to look at the lower percentages across the region, more than half of all of the represented zip codes that we've seen show at least 40% vaccination percentage or higher. But let's look here at the bottom. Huge contrast when we look at the 99011 zip code, because from the top of the list to the bottom, it doesn't get much wider than this. Only 6.4% of people have started their vaccination process in that zip code. Now, you can check this data to see what rates are where you live by checking out the Spokane Regional Health District website and visiting their data portal. Also new tonight, Washington State has turned down hundreds of millions of dollars in an opioid settlement. Instead, the state will take drug companies to court, alleging they helped fuel an addiction and overdose crisis. Washington Attorney General Bob Ferguson rejected a $527 million settlement yesterday. He accuses 4 drug companies of pumping more opioids into Washington than necessary when they knew it would likely end up in the hands of drug dealers and addicts.
To put some sense of perspective, in more than a dozen counties in Washington State, these distributors shipped more prescriptions, not pills, than there are people in a dozen counties in Washington State.
AG Ferguson says he will be seeking a, quote, transformative amount of money from the drug companies to fund the state's response to the opioid crisis. That trial is set to begin in September. Meanwhile, firefighters on the front lines of the massive bootleg fire in Oregon are fighting a new battle tonight. That is to get better pay. Low wages are making it hard for fire departments in Washington and Oregon to keep firefighters on the job. Right now, an entry-level firefighter with the U.S. Forest Service makes $13.45 an hour, and they do get a 25% hazard pay increase in certain conditions. They also get overtime, but firefighters say that does not compensate the risk that comes with the job. There is a push right now for a 50% increase in pay to make it $21 an hour. Still, though, that is only a salary of $42,000 a year. An internet outage that took down several corporate websites this morning seems to be fixed tonight. The list of impacted companies includes FedEx, Delta, and McDonald's. It came as 2 internet service providers reported system disruptions, although tonight it's not clear if those issues are tied to the website shutdowns. Well, a large settlement has been made in a 2019 case against a school resource officer. That pricey agreement they made next, plus more details from court documents to share even more about the incident. And later, a first-of-its-kind home is being built right here in Spokane. We'll tell you why it's unlike any other neighborhood in the inland Northwest.